Okay, guys, this is Mercury Retrograde coming up, and it's going to be on October the 14th at 11 degrees of Scorpio. And then it's going to go retrograde until November the 3rd. It's going to move back into Libra at 25 degrees, and then it will go direct on the 3rd of November. So what's going on with this being in Scorpio? Because the interesting thing with retrogrades, what we're basically doing is we're going in, we're going in to rewind, review, and to reassess things. And at this time, we can see, if I get my pointer here, right, so what you can see, this is the collective chart of the moment. And what we have is that Mercury currently is in Scorpio, and it's at 10 degrees. You can see it here. At the moment, it's opposing Uranus. So that's our, day-to-day thinking and communications. And Uranus is to do with breaking free of limitations. So we can be feeling right now some sort of frustration going on, in the outer world, because oppositions, basically what's going on, there's a struggle. And we've also got the square of the sun. I'll come back to Mercury retrograde in a minute, but we've got the sun squaring Jupiter and Pluto up here. Jupiter in particular, because it's at 17 degrees, and you can see that we've got the sun Jupiter's at 18 degrees, and we've got the sun, so that's a square here. And then we've also got a square to Pluto. And then if you look here, we've got Mars retrograde, and we've got a square to all of these planets up here, which is Saturn, which is to do with our restriction. A lot more. I'm just going to keep the simple vet restriction that we're feeling right at this moment, and patriarchy. And we've got also Pluto, which is birth, death, and transformation, transmuting, changing form. Like a butterfly changes form completely. It goes from caterpillar to, not butterfly changes form, but you've got a caterpillar, it completely transmutes and turns into something completely different. And then we've got Jupiter, which is our truth, higher education, spirituality. And we've got these squares going on, and Mars is at 22 degrees. And I think it's until the 14th of November, if I can remember rightly. Well, look on the chart. I'm going to push this chart forward. I'm using Solar Fire. And we've also got here, we've got a T-square going on because of this. So there's a lot of tension right now. And also there's a lot of sadness, because the things that are going on in the world. There's a lot of disagreements, and people are trying to sort out what's truth for them. And we've also got going on here, the moon right now is 16 degrees. It's opposing all of the Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn. But the moon takes 28 days to move around the chart, so it's quite quick. We've also got a sesquare, which is called, I think it's about 135, not 135. I think it might be it's over 135 degrees. I haven't got it in front of me, but this is our needs. Venus is to do with our needs, and this is currently in Virgo. So if we now look at when this Mercury retrograde is going to do for us. So what does Mercury mean? So Mercury is to do with our thinking, communication, our intellect, and our learning. And Mercury is, it's where we're interested in intellectual things and teaching. And it's also where we go into depth in studying things, like I study astrology, and, I read like Carl Jung, and I'm studying things, looking at ways to improve myself and my life. And it's also to do with our natural intelligence, and it's left brain. So it's where we, analyze things. And Mercury actually is the ruler of both Gemini, and it's also the ruler of Virgo. So with it being in Scorpio, we've got, for these weeks that it goes through, it's to do with our deepening our own awareness about certain things that are within us. It's like we're diving into the deep. And also Scorpio is in water. It's a water sign. So it's where we really go deep in Scorpio, the psychology of things, and we're digging deep. We're looking for something. There's a lot of fear around at the moment as well. And we're trying to overcome that and find out which way we're going forward. We might be very preoccupied with our own unconscious during this time. And with Mercury retrograde anyway, we go inward, but it's a double whammy, a double hit, so to speak, because it's in Scorpio, because it's a double hit of really going inward, so that we gain deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us, and so that we can have get to a place where we're having a positive effect on ourselves and our future interactions with people. And also we've got, during this time, there are elections going on, and it's interesting that I'm in London, but I'm in the USA. I think it's when this goes direct, it will be in Libra, and it will, I don't know what the day, I think it's the 4th, I'll look at that again. Anyway, so Mercury, let's read a bit what it's doing on its own anyway, in the 8th house. So traditionally in the 8th house, Mercury, it's a time when we look and go inward and reflect upon our deep psychological truths within ourselves. It can be our rational intellect, we now look at it a lot closer. And also we look at what we've been hiding from ourselves, what we've been hidden, what's been hidden. And it's a time when we get more in touch with our hidden aspects of ourselves, because Scorpio is the psychology, and it's the depths and merging as well. So when Mercury is in Scorpio, it's a transit that signifies conversations and intellectual encounters. And it's where we can have conversations that will have a profound effect on us and our mind and our thinking. And it can cause us to go deeper within ourselves, making changes in our point of view and the way we think. And also it can have an effect on somebody else's thinking as well, with the conversations that we'll be having. In some cases, other people, we might come up with something so great that other people might be amazed, or we might be amazed at other people as well. And it's a communication that's, it's our verbal communication, but again, it's going to be inward, but we'll still be having that outwardly as well with what's going on currently in the world. And also with this transit, the transit is very conducive to very deep thinking, including thoughts about our own and our loved ones' mortality. We're not on planet Earth forever. And, we've got to really get to a place where we're having compassion for each other. We've been seeing, a lot of, horrible things we can say about other people, like we can be wishing people dead and things like that. Particularly with elections going on, you're seeing it, that people are there's cruelty within us, that we'll just wish somebody dead, for instance, and we won't think, twice about that. And really, that's not what us human beings are supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be raising our level of consciousness and becoming whole. And we know when we're being, whole, when we're coming from a place that's whole, because of the way we think. When we're whole, we actually have more compassion for other life, all life, animals as well, the whole thing, and the planet and everything. So we're going to be reflecting, and on a mundane level, this can coincide with discussions and negotiations. It can be to do with finances. We've got a lot of that going on at the moment, because of the lockdown, and people are being made redundant, and, haven't got jobs to go to, and the governments aren't really fulfilling, their end of the bargain fully. They're sort of saying, well, we'll pay some of it in the UK anyway, we'll pay some of it. And then the employer has to come up with the rest, but the employers aren't making any money, or not all employers are, small businesses, example. So it's about joint resources, Scorpio as well, and taxes and things in the 8th house, Scorpio. So we need to then look at aspects to our own chart. And what I'm going to do now is tell you what Scorpio means through each house, or not, what Mercury means through each house, rather, not what Scorpio means. I've told you what Scorpio means, but now I'm just going to give you a quick understanding of what each house means for you, so that you can then take that and look understand what you will be working with during this period. For me, it's happening in my 12th house. I'm going to show you that briefly, how you can look on astro.seek or astro.com. I'm going to show you a chart from astro.com, which is mine. So let's go Mercury in the first house. So this is not retrograde. This is what it means when it transits, and then you convert that to go in retrograde. So it's where, when it's going direct, we can see that we're more confident in the first house. So the first house would be first house of your chart. What we're going to do actually is I'm going to share my chart so you get a good idea of what I'm doing here. So new share. Okay, so this is my chart, and you can see the first house is here. My first house is ascendant Scorpio, but you would look on your chart. You can go to astro.com, www.astro.com, get your own chart, put in your time of birth. You do need your time of birth to do this so that you get the rising sign, so you understand the houses, because the rising sign, it changes every couple of hours. In a day, it's going to change, quite, several times. Like if we divide it by 12, 24 hours, every couple of hours, it's changing. So for me, here I am, and my 12th house is Scorpio here. It's part just here, and you can see my Mercury. So it's going to go retrograde, and it's going to go back into Libra at 25 degrees, and then it will go forward again. So from here, I'll give you an example. Going back to 25 degrees and then going forward again means that Scorpio, the Mercury for me, is going to be here until the 30th of November, and then it will hit my ascendant, which will be good because I'll start my December with it in my first house, which is a good place for it to be. So let's go first house. What does it mean? It means you'll be more confident about your mental abilities, and your ability to communicate your ideas improve when it's in the first house, and you will be more curious. And it can also be difficult to put your ideas into practice because the mind is overflowing with thoughts when it's in the first house. And it's where we can feel a bit distracted and spend a lot of time thinking. And it's like you can't put things into context when it's in the first house because you're so busy, overloaded with thoughts. And it's also to be aware of not getting lost in one's thoughts. And it's also, intellectual interests as well, and short trips and journeys, because Mercury is about, it's about travel, short journeys, and it's about siblings as well. It's rules the third house. And it's also to do with our communications, emails and such like. So with Mercury retrograde, it's advised that we do not, make travel plans or just buy tickets and things. If you've got to do something, then you've got to do it, but stay away from signing contracts and stuff like that, unless you really have to. Because generally Mercury retrograde, things will change. But what we're doing with the Mercury retrograde is going over the previous month or so, and we're looking at our lives or the previous time, and we're looking at what needs to be tied up in loose ends. So in the first house, you're going to be looking inward towards yourself. That's what you're going to be doing. In the second house, if Mercury is going to be in your second house transit, then it would be, this is, where we look at our budgets and business, because it's to do with our values and our needs. So it's where we're looking at details and where we're looking at information more of in an essential way, more than intellectually. It's because it's to do with our inner needs. We might have desires to, buy things or learn things, new things, and spend money on learning things, on if we need to learn something. But it can also bring difficulties, accomplishing plans for us during that time when it's in the second house. So again, we're going to be going inward with that. And in the third house, we have the meaning would be that it's very bright and a very quick thinking mind, and it's all about communications and communicating with others. And it's where we're constantly moving from one place to another, short journeys, and also solving problems and looking at longer term goals. And like also technology as well is involved in that, because it's to do with emails and things. So again, it's a good time to really, just slow down and look inward and look at, what you need to deal with in that area. In the fourth house, it's home and family. So it's our home, and it's also to do with our, our ego issues, family issues. And it can be difficult for us, to think rationally at this time, during that time. So we've got to be careful not to forget the practical side of things when it's in the fourth house. And also it's where we're spending time at home in a pleasant environment, and that is beneficial for us. So we can hunker down with that in the fourth house, when it goes retrograde. Try and make yourself comfortable in your surroundings, and just, go inward. In the fifth house, the fifth house is joy, fun, children, and being creative. So if it was going retrograde here, it's our creative activities are affected, and it's also, to do with parenting as well, and also other people's children as well. And it's also where we might be interested in reading and writing and playing games and stuff like that, and being a bit competitive. The ruler of the fifth house is the sun, also Leo, traditionally. And it's where we want to communicate, and maybe look at also, sort of flirting and things like that. It can make us flirtatious with the fifth house is about having fun and flirting with others, and dating and things like that as also. So it's just a time when we're going inward. And then in the sixth house, this is to do with work and routines here, sixth house. And you would be, if your Mercury's there, it's organizing your work and stuff like that. So again, it's going to be going inward, and it's about communications with colleagues and clients. And it's also, looking at the way we organize things, putting our health and our routines, and looking at food and stuff. So again, we can go over things like that. It's also where we look at medical examinations, and we might have where we have nervousness when Mercury is in the sixth house. And then in the seventh house, we've got partnerships. So this is where we have, when we look at it, this is to do with all of our relationships, not just, intimate relationships, but all relationships. And this is where we have private conversations with others in one-to-one. And it's also where we resolve relationship issues because the seventh house is Libra traditionally as well. And also the ruler is Venus. So again, it's about needs between each other and others. And it's where we negotiate with others, and we make compromises with others, and where we can be charming or not charming. And it's where we want to debate as well with others. And we want to make sure that we're not having problems with our communications with loved ones. So, Mercury there, we're going to be going inward in that, and reviewing that, and rewinding, and looking at, what we need to put right and clarify. And also remember, it's going to be in Scorpio. So that's the other thing you're looking at. Now in the eighth house, if you've got it transiting your eighth house, then this is where we go into very deep thinking, and we're very intuitive. And it's where we uncover the hidden meaning of words and people, and people's hidden motives. So you can see it's really interesting that we've got this going retrograde in Scorpio, because this is it just takes us deeper into our own emotional world. It's also about who we can trust, and can we trust another? Can they trust us? Can we trust the financial system? And also it's also about taboos, the eighth house as well. And it's where we're sensitive, and we will want to merge with others. It's to do with forbidden topics, and sex, and science, and the occult, and astrology as well. And it's death, rebirth, and such like. So again, we'll be going inward in that area of our life. And the ninth house we have here, which is the traditional is Sagittarius, and the ruler is Jupiter. But again, it's going to be, if it's in the ninth house, Mercury retrograde for you, it's going to be in Scorpio. And what you have is that it's where we like to, look at creative writing, it's communicating with people, it's about higher education, other cultures, it's to do with long distance travel and such like. And it's also to do with language and deciding, what we maybe want to study and stuff like that. So we'll be reviewing those things during that period. And the 10th house is traditionally Capricorn, and it's also the ruler is Saturn. But if your Mercury is in the 10th house, it's where we want to basically be looking at our business and our work and our professional goals. And it's also about achievement and, stepping forward and maturing and growing up. So with Mercury up there, we're going to be digging deep into those areas and communicating what we need to communicate to ourselves as well. In the 11th house, it's our hopes and dreams. Going up there, sorry, pointing the wrong way. But the 11th house is to do with our hopes and dreams and groups of people and our, humanity, like all of us together. It's the collective. It's where we'll be interested in our personal goals and our aspirations and, attitudes. Is it serving all of us? It's not just about us. It's about, being the ruler is the 11th house is Aquarius and the ruler is Uranus. So that's breaking free of limitations as well. So we're looking at our lives deep there with Mercury retrograde. And it's where we communicate with people we trust. And it's also where we could be a good listener maybe for others as we're going through this Mercury. And it's also where we're thinking, of the bigger picture of others. It's where we want fulfillment, and it's about what's beneficial for, it's also inventors and innovators, and also to do with technology as well. So you might be looking at that area of your life. And for me, it's going to be the 12th house you can see here. So this one's going to be for me, isn't it? So, and the transit in the 12th house, it's going to be where I go deep into my past and examine how experiences have affected me. And if, I intend to work well with this transit, I'm really doing my inner work at the moment and looking at things. It's possible, transformation that will push us through a cycle that no longer serves us. So I'm letting go now of things or reviewing things that no longer serve me. I'm really looking at that. And it's where I want to be relaxed in solitude. And that, there can be sadness with this as well, which I'm picked up on a bit today as it goes into that, because it's already in shadow. But very important that with our feelings that we don't try and disassociate and push them away and, do it through alcohol, food, drugs or whatever. It's good just to sit with our feelings. Like earlier I spoke with a girlfriend of mine briefly, and there was some sadness today and I felt it, and just to sit with the sadness and to deal with our inner child and say, yeah, it's okay to feel sad. And when we sink into the feeling of sadness or whatever it is, or talk to a friend, then we can, begin to bring some humor into our moods and our feelings. Then we're in the 12th house. It's where we might keep our thoughts and ideas to ourselves. And it's where we're evaluating things that, need to be said or should have been said. And, but we've got to make sure that we're not too reserved here, that we're damaging relationships. And also there can be, creative activities taking place during this period. And, they can help with mental blocks when we do, a bit of art, or even me doing this YouTube right now. It's like I feel inward, but, I'm putting something out there and being of service, as well as the 12th house as well, being service to others, hospitals, institutions and such like. So I think that's it. I might go back to the other chart briefly. Let me just go a new share. And I want to go back to new share, the emanated page. So if you see this, if I push this a bit forward now, you're going to see Mercury here. And if you see me push this forward by 1 day, this is tomorrow. And then you can see Mercury is 11 degrees there. And then it stations on the 14th You see the S there? That's how you can tell on a chart. And then it's going to go station, and then it's going to go retrograde. And then if we push it forward, I'm going to go forward until it goes forward. I'm going to push it forward, 16th. So 17th, 18th, 19th of October. And we keep going to the 26th of October, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th of October. You can see here. And then it's going to go, it's back in Libra there. And then it's going to go forward again. And then it will go back into Scorpio. And there we go. We just keep going. And then it's in Scorpio, and it will come out of Scorpio on the 2nd of December. That's worth knowing for everybody. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Please book a session with me if you want to dig deep on the psychology of your chart, because ultimately this is what astrology is. Carl Jung used it, and pre-psychology, this is what human beings did. We didn't have distractions. We would sit under the stars and we would discuss our life issues and plans for each other in the world, you know. So, and we're going through huge evolution at this time. You know, it's a brilliant time to be alive, but there's a lot of emotions we're dealing with. We must do our inner child work as well. Okay, I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching.